Among the Hindu gods, the concept of Shiva is most difficult to understand. Hindus still have the prevailing concept that Shiva is formless. In temples, while all other gods were crafted with beautiful figures, Shiva alone is installed in the form of a black stone and called as Shivalinga, a symbol of Shiva. The most popular mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, is not a praise to Lord, but a high spiritual concept in which a devotee identifies himself with Shiva, the infinite existence. The concept of Nataraja, the rhythmic dance of Shiva, is the best imagination for harmony in nature. Ardhanarishwara, Siva-Sakti are other important concepts. Dr. R L Kashyap, a scientist and Vedic scholar, addressed this concept to new heights in the following video.
And the idea again is next, the idea of the Shiva and the Rudra. Rudra, unfortunately, in the later Puranas, especially these our modern things, they quote it from Rudra, he who makes us cry and that sort of thing. Therefore, we associate him with the god of earth. At the same time, there is this idea of Shiva. For example, consider the Ramana and other things, where we think of the Arunachala Shiva as the Shiva is that which is two aspects. That which doesn't move, stationary, and that which moves. The stationary aspect, we think of him as the flash of the light, and we think of the Arunachala as the flash of light, as it were, which has become, shall we say, a mount. And of course, the dancing Shiva is well known. So these two aspects of Shiva are there actually. So Rudra, the idea is, he makes the point is, the Rudati, he doesn't relate to blood at all. That's a different question basically. It was Sri Aurobindo who basically made the idea. There is a creation is there. Then Vishnu is there, all pervading. So it is a complex thing. Therefore, somebody has some power has to be there to maintain, shall we say, the harmony among everything. Most important. We have millions and millions of species. And therefore we have not only the friendly ones, we have the unfriendly ones also. In the Veda it is the Dasyu, in the Purana it is the Rakshasas. Therefore Vishnu in the Veda sort of comes in handy, works with Indra also. But Vishnu in the Veda is a little different. Sometimes just as we speak of the Vishnu as calm, there is also his fearful aspect. That is in the way. So we speak of him. He roams in the hills like a tiger. That is the verse in the first mandala, 156 sutta, we have that word. Therefore, just like Indra has this nicer qualities and forceful, Vishnu is also like that. They work together. And therefore the Shiva, the Rudra, so that is the point. With Sri Aurobindo makes the idea, there is the creation is there. So remember, our creation is not a single act. It is a perpetual creation. So it happens. I will give you an example. Then the point of Sri Aurobindo always is our life at large has a goal, as it were. And the goal, we speak of the Veda, is the idea of the all-sighted perfection. And we have so many births, as it were. In each birth we learn something. But that is not remembered in our outward things, true. But it is true. For example, many of us people have at the age of 3 or 4, they are excellent artists, excellent musicians. It manifests if only you see inside. But it is not obvious to a person, nothing like a documentary stuff. So he says, Rudra or Shiva is the force that makes you propel forwards. Therefore, he does not tolerate static positions. Therefore, he wants change. That is the Jagat. Therefore, the change known not only because we want to change, that is not the idea. Change, therefore, remember always, in the Indian tradition, when we speak of evolution, we speak always in terms of the helix. Most of you, who for example have seen the winding staircases, that's a good example, very important one. Because remember, in winding staircase, if you see, the three axes are there. X-axis is there, Y and the Z. Every time you put a step, we go upward in the Z only. On the X, sometimes you go here, then you come back, go up, go down. So remember the two axes, X and Y, because in a circle. Therefore, go on increasing, Y, X increases, then X stops, decreases, Y increases, etc. Therefore, only in the vertical direction we have that. That is the Vedic idea of the progress. So, if X and Y are the space and time, it is the Z, the idea of our development all along, that is not punctuated by time only. That is the indication of our progress. Therefore, Z goes on all the time, the perpetual progress, which is not so easily documented, because we are speaking of how many people are there in the universe, 6.5 billion, the sort of a thing, and therefore we can't document it so easily. Vishnu, Shiva, Rudra, this idea is not the simple. Our Shiva, Rudra, is not simply the destroyer. That is in some sense projected in the Puranas. He is not simply a destroyer. What is he? He destroys to recreate a new species of people, so that in every generation, every age, it contributes. Therefore, Brahma is the principle of perpetual creation. Vishnu is the principle of perpetual preservation. Shiva is the principle of perpetual, shall we say, upward movement. See, this destruction is very important also. People are all afraid of the destruction and other things. But that's how I want to go. So these three important ideas are there. They are Vedic ideas. They are also mentioned in Purana. But Purana, by and large, don't worry about their deeper idea. So it is not correct to say that it is true, the Veda, Brahma as a deity is not there. But the idea of creation by mantra, it is a very, very common idea in the whole of the Vedas. That's simply not to be sort of contested at all. So Vishnu has about 20 suktas, and Shiva also. Shiva in the Veda, you should understand, he is the one great healer. For example, one mantra says, Gatapatim, Medhapatim, Jalasha Pejajam, Tat Shamyo, Sumnaihi, Imahe. That word Shamyo is very important for us, because normally when we think of peace, I want to be peaceful. We think, I want to sit down successfully, sit in the sofa and that sort of thing. We associate peace with rest. That is Sham. But Veda also says we have to develop the habit of appreciating the peace even in the moment. And that word is Yo-ho. Therefore, the word Sham Yo-ho means that power of a Shiva, Rudra, who gives you the peace at rest. and the peace in the moment. Veda itself doesn't have the word Shanti, it has the word Sham. So Shanti is in the major Veda and that sort of. But that's the reason. Ghatapati Medapati is Jalasha Beshajam. Beshaja is the healer. How does he heal? By means of all the powers in the Jala. Jala, as I tell you, it is that which takes birth, Ja, and which moves Laya. Therefore, in some sense, it is the heavenly waters which get Jalasha Beshajam. That Shamyoho Sumnai Imahe. Therefore, we Imahe. Sumnayo for our, that is this idea. Therefore, then another mantra says, he has in his hands all the healing powers and that sort of. For in the Veda, he is not simply a deity of destruction, but he is also the deity of, shall we say, the healing and that sort of thing. And that's the reason why our Namaka and Chamaka are so important in some sense. For it is in Namaka there are so many different epithets for him that people don't understand the epithets. That's this idea. Therefore, of course, because you don't understand, you give all sorts of meanings for it, and to understand this idea. Then I want to say, as I told you, any important idea in the Veda, you have to translate it into any everyday life also. That's very important. You simply can't. Then and only then. Therefore, this old idea, we need the mantras for our moksha. The idea is itself only moksha. Moksha is mukti. So what is mukti? There is this question. Before mukti, you have to understand what is it that binds you. You want to release, no doubt about it. If you don't understand what binds you, then obviously there is nothing like a mukti at all. Therefore, Veda basically says, ask the four cold questions. That is, it speaks of the three bonds. In the Kannada, for example, most of you use the word. For example, when you speak of difficulties in the house, we speak of the tapatrayas, we say. Tapa is burning. Traya is three. Very few people know what is this. They simply say the tapatraya is the equivalent of difficulties. That's what they think. But tapa is burning. What is the three? Three is the burning caused at the physical level, the burning caused at the prana level, and the burning caused at the mental level. So this idea is developed again when you speak of the three bonds. We speak of Rudra, remove our lower bond, middle bond, and upper bond, and releases and that sort of thing. So all of these you have to put in together to understand this idea of what we mean by moksha. Therefore, moksha is not something overnight you go to a different place and that sort of thing. That's not the idea of the moksha. So the important thing is, moksha is something, a condition which you should attain when you are living. That's the point our Shankaracharya makes in so many different. It's not a post-death condition at all, as this idea. So what you cannot achieve when you are alive, you are not going to achieve after you die. But remember, of course, in the people actually, even though in one birth we do something, and other births are there, that's a different. Therefore, we have to understand how do we relate this triplet, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, to our everyday life. That is question. Without bringing in moksha and that sort of thing. The answer is you take your food, for example. So for all human beings, all living beings need food. That you understand first of all. Therefore, clearly three aspects are there. The people who produce the food, the people who consume the food, and the powers which decompose the food. All the three are important. So, The idea is, so all of them are perpetual organizations. So who are the people who produce the food? It is the bacteria plus our plants. So the creation idea of the food Brahma idea, it is not one day business, it's going on perpetually. Similarly, maintenance. But come to this most important idea of this what is loosely called destruction. No, I call it recycling. The point we have to understand is every living being dies. Therefore, the ordinary plant dies, and then of course the point is we don't understand when the big animals die, there's a disaster in some sense. So, the third point is the most important. Therefore, the destruction, instead of using that negative word, we ask this idea that it should be idea of recycling. After the body has served the purpose, then it takes all the things and takes out all the things. And as people, if you read in modern books on biology, 75%, 95% of a plant comes from the upstairs, from the atmosphere. Only 5% comes from the downstairs. But it takes so much effort to get that 5%, and that's the reason that you don't know. First of all, so people we speak of the humus, we have no idea what it is. We know the most important thing that part of the soil is humus. Humus is not sand. Therefore, we in America they call them as dirt, and that's this idea. Therefore, when humus goes away, the big problem of why, in India itself, when rain falls, what happens? The indigo flows down. What does it do? Not only it flows down, it takes away the upper soil having humus. That's the reason systematically yield goes up. That's why we say we have to use. So what should we do? Very simple. Make sure your land, water in your land doesn't flow out of your land. So what should we do? We put trenches, we put hedges, and this is the idea of the modern organic agriculture practice even in India. That way water goes down, and then we have huge streams, we call the aquifers downstairs, which are as powerful as the rivers up and other things. So the Vishnu Shiva idea is very much in the food idea also. There is the creators of the food. They are, shall we say, consumers in some sense. They help in the growth also. We can't purely call them as like the human being. But remember, the ratio is our 3% our help, 99% is done by the what we call the Panchamahabhutas, and then we have the recyclers. Therefore, this looking at the food, we should get an idea of the role of Shiva. It is not the simple destruction of the old forms. It is only when the old forms are decomposed we can get new forms. Therefore, evolution says a new forms will have new powers. That is this idea that we don't, even if we don't worry about evolution, the formation of the new forms. And that power is what we call as the birthing business. So, the complexity is there. All of the difficulties come because we don't appreciate the need for the concept of prana at all. It is the prana. What does it do? It maintains, when we speak of Vishnu maintaining it, it is the prana which maintains the whole, the living complex as it were. And what does it do? The idea is when thing gets to birth, for example, then we always say, when we say a person dies, we say prana went away. We don't say prana entered and that sort of thing when he is born. That's what basically happens. Some powerful energy enters into you. It is beyond the idea of, we speak of the copulation, we speak of the sort of a thing going. But that's the reason you see traditional people like Mother and always say the time when the jiva enters the soul, it could be as late as the 8th month or the 9th month. Mother says when it entered after even it was born in some sense. So also prana is there, but human beings, all the animals also have prana. That's not the idea. Human beings have important idea of a jiva, that is this idea, the soul. Therefore, that is an important idea that continues. That's the reason we call it Chaitya Purusha. Therefore, when you say from birth to birth, what grows? It is the Chaitya Purusha. Chaitya gives the body, he digests the experiences. Again, continues in the next. So, that is the difference. We should not speak of, casually speak of the rebirth as transmigration. That's not correct at all. Transmigration is something there, you go there. That's not the idea of our like. You go to a new house, we migrate into a new house or a new apartment. That is migration. Here, don't worry about the animal level. There are human beings who in some sense design the environment where they will be reborn. That is this idea. So it is not a simple idea of... so that is the reason they may be born into very difficult. It's not simply true like traditional people say, a good person will be born in the Bhagavad Gita saying among good people, not necessary. Some people are born amidst great difficulty because that is part of the reason why that particular soul wants that experience, that is idea. So, not usual ideas are, that's not appreciating the full power of the karma. So, we should not speak of the Shiva idea as a destruction. What is it? It is in some sense reordering the forms. For example, animal has a form. What happens? Therefore, its outer form is changed in some sense. So, slowly all the components are redistributed. And therefore, some goes up, some goes down, and everything else. And therefore, then the problem, when a new agriculture starts, that's the reason the roots, they go to different levels, Why we need trees or because they are the one which go down up to the roots at the bottom of the one. And all the other things of vegetables, they don't go very much at all. They stay on the surface as it were. Therefore, we need more water for the vegetables. So, good example is at least you take a little trouble of looking at the coconut tree all around our house is there. We water it only, let us say, in the first few years we may water it. Afterwards we stop it. It depends upon the thing. And therefore, that's a good example of how far the roots go and that sort of thing. So, that is the reason the point of the things like our coconut tree is a good example to show that it is a photosynthesis. We know only one contribution of the sun called as photosynthesis. That is, sun's rays come, hit. It's only one aspect. The very fact, the coconut tree exists is the water is going all the way some 500 feet up. There is no physical law, therefore the sun himself pushes the water up. Similar, same thing when a bird is flying, the same. The forces of sun come into the being in so many different ways. Since we cannot quantify them, that's the problem with the physics. Since we can't quantify them, we ignore them. That is this idea. But that obviously is not correct thing to do. Therefore, this much of information is sufficient for you. And you take the same thing again even into an idea like education, for example, learning. How human beings learn as a group. Again, there is this idea of the creative aspect in the beginning. Then what do we do in the middle age? We preserve it as this world. Then we have the later period. What do we do? All of you see, at least in the United States or even in India, if you become an accountant, you don't become an accountant all your life. Then you change. You regroup things, then you come to music. Therefore, you rearrange all the things and that sort of thing. That is the point of all creative idea. Therefore, these three ideas, that is the creative idea, the maintenance idea, and the recycling And the recreation of the Param idea is there in every aspect. It is in science, in education. Food is an excellent example of how you can easily see these three different things. So, therefore, it is in that sense the depth of the Indian teaching has the depth. What is it? It understands, not simply satisfied with a slogan or the simplistic idea, after that we go to a good place and that sort of thing. That if you understand this, then you will understand the need for dying also.